Hello, welcome to the No Way Jose podcast. Today I have on Eric Hunley. We'll be talking about taking the OKBOMB-Pill, digging a little bit into Eric's past as well. Should be a fun episode. It's always cool when I see someone interested in a thing that I'm interested in, so we can spurg out together. It's always fun, and we will do much of that today. But yeah, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell. We'll see you in. Best known for my coverage on the Oklahoma City bombing. Last time I was here, I let you guys all know that Terrence Hickey didn't kill himself, and less than a month later, CNN ended up covering that story. So today I'm here to tell you Ken Trender didn't kill himself, and Jesse Trender, his brother, sure could use some awareness. He still continues over 25-year-long battle for justice and his brother's death. And the people that did him in will still walking
shot hit me in the face and then went down into my throat, and that's what caused all the major damage to my throat. We didn't talk. There was no conversation whatsoever. It was very businesslike. Is probably the best I could put it. He didn't look enraged. He didn't look anything other than very comfortable in what he was doing.
Hello, Eric. Welcome to the show. Pleasure to have you on. It's always good to have a fellow warrior in the Oklahoma City bombing, because it's one of those ones that gets overlooked. So that's the context for bringing you on today. You are a major figure, I guess a major. You got a much larger platform than I do, and I see you out and about, and I notice these things. I've spent many an hour digging into Oklahoma City bombing, so it's always cool when someone else comes to help. When I started, a while back, I don't think Trentadu was really he was I think he was under his gag order, and maybe he was just I don't know if maybe he's getting more testy these days, and that's why he's open to talking more. I don't know. I'm good with it, but now all the other people are coming, and I feel like I'm starting to get a little bit of imposter syndrome because I'm just nothing but a podcaster, but I'm glad to have other podcasters joining the fray. Eric, I actually kind of wanted to bring you on here to kind of feel you out because I've listened to your show actually a decent amount. On my shows I usually do like parapolitical conspiracy type stuff, and JFK and RFK I've done a few times, and I've found myself leaning on your content, particularly you and your I guess you have a show with your co-host Grubert, I think his name is. Yeah, so I kind of wanted to also just
cold there.
Yeah, so I also just kind of wanted to learn a little bit about you, like what makes you tick, what is your background, that sort of thing, because I think maybe we have some similarities. I mentioned we're both military. I just got out like recently. I got active in 2020, and the reserves a couple years later, and I'm out now. So, so not too long ago, but I don't know. So I kind of want to know about your past, kind of what you're about. And what got you into this? Because I saw you're on your show. I think your info thing says something like a behavioralist or something along those lines. But now you've kind of, I don't know if maybe you've changed and the info isn't as up to date. But anyways, I've gone on long enough. Eric, if you could just introduce yourself quickly to the audience, and then maybe we'll pry a little bit more, kind of let them know who you are, what kind of content you do, and the like.
Cool. And first off, I want to qualify something. I am a Johnny come lately.
Mm-hmm.
You, Ken Silva, Richard Booth, Margaret Roberts, Jesse Trentadue, Kathy Sanders. There's so many people, Roger Charles, who have come before. I quite literally am, what time is it in terms of Oklahoma City bombing? And I did not get involved in the story until Margaret Roberts sent me this book and sent me down a rabbit hole that has completely consumed my life at this point. In 1995, I believe, and it's weird, you were in the military. I don't know if you remember every duty station or whatever. I kind of
I only went to McDill.
behind me. I was back, I was in the military. I joined in 1992. I was out in 1997. Never had any combat, nothing like that. You've obviously probably done a lot more than I have on that front. But in 95, I think I was in Cuba at the time taking care of migrants, which was a life-changing experience because I volunteered to invade Haiti because I hated being a cook at Fort Irwin and wound up in Cuba feeding migrants. That's my life. You do one thing and become something else. And the whole Oklahoma City bombing, it's like, okay, yeah, some nutty, GI. Believe me, I knew there were some nutty GIs, and he did this stuff, and blah blah blah. I got her book. I'm like, I do stuff with JFK on America's Untold Stories. My audience would probably like that. It's interesting. I'm always open to check things out. I read it, and I was just captivated. And I was captivated not on, there's some wild theories and really strong ones, but I get very excited about very simple things like 24 witnesses saw another guy, 24 different people, every walks of life. They're, in a garage or this or that. They're not getting paid. The Inquirer didn't cut them a check. They have nothing to gain from it. They're saying, hey, we got this other guy. And not only did they say there was another guy, they were more consistent about John Doe number 2 than they were about John Doe number 1, who we know was Timothy McVeigh. And the FBI didn't say, oh, they contradicted each other, or no, some said he was taller or shorter. No, they said they made it all up. And that is troubling. Just one thing like that to me breaks everything wide open.
Mm-hmm.
So
100%. So you did 5 years back in the day, way back when. I did 11 years active duty. I just want to let you know, not to make this episode about me at all, but I didn't do combat, just to qualify, because you almost feel like as a military person, especially someone mentions it, you almost have to no, I didn't. I was an aircraft mechanic. I was Air Force. I joined as a SEER instructor, and I failed out because it's like I have bad vision, and so I wear these I have contacts on, and I have god awful vision, and it was the only thing close to spec ops I could get. And I failed out because it's technically not a spec ops SEER instructor, but it has an incredibly high fail rate. Like basically everyone in my class failed. Sure. But anyways, then I got washed out and I became an aircraft mechanic, and I was McDill the entire career for 11 years active duty. So just Florida, Tampa. I mean, I can't really complain. I deployed once, went to Qatar. Which ironically is a real bomb not too long ago, which is weird because it was actually a very calm, nothing happens on that base ever. So it was kind of wild to see that happen. But yeah, that was my experience. But so I guess I kind of want to know what got you into podcasting. Where did you, and what kind of, because it does seem like from the cursory view of your show, it does seem like you kind of do dig into parapolitics. Like parapolitics, I joke, is just like the nice way of saying conspiracy. Like it's just like the more suit and tie version of it. Like here's my source. But it seems like that's kind of what your show, or at least the one with Grubert, perhaps. I don't know if you have separate channels or something.
Yeah, multiple channels.
Okay, I don't know. It's hard to keep track.
The one with Grobert is a spinoff of the channel under my name, which has the Oklahoma City stuff.
Okay.
I even have another one called Proven Conspiracies that I haven't done anything with for a bit. I'm very interested in looking at the other side, but I also never go too far down any path. I want to be very boring. I know that sounds terrible, but I feel like it's super important, and I've gotten some really angry comments. I did an interview with Kathy Sanders, and I expressed my feelings that the more radical the theories are, the less likely I want to deal with them. Doesn't mean I won't eventually, but it does a disservice, and it actually helps, in my opinion, the deep state, if you seize on to really radical, crazy stuff. It's like, no, I want boring stuff. I want the stuff that is like very difficult. Again, 24 witnesses. That's not exciting, but it's very difficult to overcome in a narrative. But as far as podcasting, I am just a fan of podcasts. I've been listening to podcasts since 2005, almost as long as they've been around. I'm kind of a Mac user. I'm a technical, I'm a nerd, web programming, things like that. I wrote some books and wanted to do an Apple podcast because I got into the stuff. And then I realized, well, everybody else is doing Apple podcasts, and they're better than me. Why would anybody want to listen to me do a podcast? So I kind of solved it like many people do. I started buying equipment. So for some reason, it's like, okay, if I buy a microphone, that's going to make me do a podcast. No, I just have a microphone. And then if I buy a soundboard, then I just have a soundboard. And I managed to do this for several years. And then I got into running. I'm out of shape now, but I ran some marathons, a 50K, a bunch of half marathons, stuff. I was like, I'll do a running podcast. And I appeared on some podcasts talking about it. And then I was like, it's going to get kind of boring. But one thing that I did do when I was running, and now I just walk a lot, but that's when I consume information. I like to listen to content. And by the way, it's a magical time right now because I listen to PDFs that are converted and read back to me like an audiobook. And it's like, oh my God, finally, I can listen to any book I want. But I was checking out, there was a Joe Rogan show way back when, like 2015, 2014. I don't remember, but Sam Harris, who I find an insufferable prick,
Yeah.
was complaining about this guy, Hunter Motz. And because I think Sam Harris is an insufferable prick, I was like, let me check out Hunter Motz. And I did. And it turns out he was co-host with this other guy, Brian Callen, who is one of Joe Rogan's best buddies from way back in the day. And it was the Brian Callen show, and then became Mixed Mental Arts. And on that show, I was like, wait a minute, they're interviewing like Jordan Peterson back in the day, who they're interviewing Jonathan, Haidt, and all these intellectuals. And I joined the Facebook group. And then while I was in the group, I ran into something, some call it autistic behavior, but Hunter dubbed it, and I think it's perfect, an intellectual dick measuring contest. And I thought, you know what? I want to do interviews with just interesting people. I thought about calling it Idea Pub because I do like my beers, as you can tell. And the idea was, what if I'm sitting on a pub, somebody sits across the table from me, and I'm like, who are you? What do you do? Oh, I'm an FBI. Whoa, how does that work? What do you do? And I was like, well, why can't I ask questions like every man? And I'm not in competition with my guest. I'm not in competition with anybody. I just want to learn from people, have cool conversations. And then I named it Unstructured. It was a podcast for a couple of years. And then in 2019, Chase Hughes of now the Behavior Panel, but he's got 1 million subscribers on his own. He's like a giant dude who does mind control, behavioral analysis, hypnosis, all that good stuff. He was like, dude, let's do a video. And I was like, yeah, I've got a face for radio. I don't do that. And he was like, no, man, I'll get some wine to do it. I'm like, okay, well, I got an iPhone. You got a phone? Can we just do it on that? He's like, yeah. So we were going to do an interview on video that would be on YouTube. I had at that time, my podcast was feeding YouTube with audio only stuff, but you know, it was kind of a joke. And of course, he canceled the day before. But fast forward January 30th, 2020, I went ahead and did one with him, and I thought, okay, my typical interviews, I was studying and researching anywhere from 10 hours to 50 hours for one interview, because I get sort of obsessive, and I have imposter syndrome, which you mentioned earlier. I totally get it. And I just don't want to be an ass. But I was like, I've already interviewed Chase a lot. I know his work. And there's this cool thing. It's live streaming, and there's a chat. And if people ask questions, I don't have to do the work. And I did it. And it was amazing. We had like 50 people watching simultaneously. And I think there was like a couple dozen questions, you know, in it. And it just flowed so perfectly. It was like the most successful thing I'd ever done. I said, oh shit, this is easy. I want to do this forever. And so then I was like, okay, well, you know what? I have another buddy. His name's Viva Fry. He's got 100,000 YouTube subscribers. This is going to be amazing. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to tuck right in. And 5 people are watching. There's one question.
It happens.
No. Fortunately, I knew him, and I actually had questions of my own, like, how is it you can hold a camera when you're donating blood and be comfortable with that, and you know, stuff like that. But it hit hard. But I still stuck with it. Christina Lennon, who I had interviewed before, she came on. She's the one who hypnotized Simon Cowell with her dog. Paramedics had to be called to wake him up. Anyway, so cool stuff. And that was not Chase level. And then I've just been grinding ever since.
So everyman type thing. I was just curious because the behavioral thing. I'm like, are you some sort of like behavioral expert or something? I was kind of prying at, perhaps.
Just interested.
Okay. I didn't know if you were one of those guys that used to, maybe when you started, would evaluate like body language or something and be like, read into it.
I look at it, but I prefer to bring people on who are experts. I have my opinions of what I see, but I tend to be the interviewer, and I'll bring them on for their expertise versus doing it myself.
Same here. I go for the everyman vibe. I am by no means an expert at anything, just a jack of all trades. But now I guess let's take it back to OKC. I kind of want to find out just kind of your endpoint. Like, where did you get? I know you said you don't like to get too much into the crazy, but I could tell you for a fact, digging into Oklahoma City bombing, you can't help it. If you follow the facts, you get to the crazy. So I guess it's a matter of how far down there have you gotten, and then it is kind of like, how are you interpreting the information as you go? Because I mean, frankly, with Oklahoma City bombing, you can kind of make a decent argument for a lot of different crazy stuff in there. I mean, some of it maybe not so much. I know the intro kind of alluded to like maybe the like, you know, McVeigh surviving or something. Oh, did he become Paul Weissapal in the FBI or whatever the heck that everyone says? I think that's doubtful. I mean,
it's hard to talk to Kathy Sanders about that when she's like, I watched him die.
Yeah.
And literally, and I feel bad about that. It's like, I will never discount anything 100%, but I will say I'm going to start with no.
Yeah.
On most things, if you tell me anything, I'm probably going to just say no. And then if you come back with more, I might shift to maybe. But I just feel like to be a responsible investigator, and the JFK stuff has helped me out a lot. Mark Grobert, my partner, you know, he worked with Oliver Stone, wrote a multi-part miniseries on Lee Harvey Oswald. And we talk about it a lot, that, you know, there is a viewpoint of conspiracy mindset where everything is a conspiracy. And the problem is that if everything is a conspiracy, then nothing's a conspiracy. You can't have it both ways. And there absolutely are conspiracies out there. MK Ultra, Jolly West is messing around. Sidney Gottlieb. There's so much rich material already. You don't have to add more to it. And that's where, again, I jump on the stance of no. Prove it. No. Timothy McVeigh still alive. You got to do a lot to prove that to me. You really do have a lot to. Okay, I hear there wasn't an autopsy. I don't know. Well, give me facts. Why does that matter? Maybe it's true. Maybe it's huge. But why? Why does it matter? I do want to know that, especially when I feel like there's so much meat to chew on, like Elohim City. Why do I have to go into the weird when I could just go into how is it there is this one place, Elohim City, where you have Secret Service, FBI, CIA, potentially, ATF, all the informants at the same time. There's an old joke. I don't know who came up with it, but like in any meeting with three KKK, white supremacists, Nazis, whatever, two of them will be feds. And that place seems to represent that. Let's look into that. There are records, there's payroll. Carol Howe, we've been following up with you. She passed away this year. I was looking at that. By the way, I'll throw a side note at you. John Ronson, fed or no?
He glows. Now I don't know if you're. I don't know what you're where you're at with the vernacular. Now, glow does not mean that he is a fed. I work in levels of certainty. Is how I work. Okay. I have no problem giving someone my opinion, even if it is crazy. But I will like hedge it with like whatever. I could be wrong. This is my level of certainty. But Ronson, man, yeah, there's some glow there. I don't know. I mean, like I said, a glow is kind of like not an assertion. It's just kind of a. There's something's up there. Something's up. It feels weird. It definitely. I read that. It was an audiobook actually. I think I listened to the audiobook and yeah, it's. I mean, I don't remember specific things off the top of my head, but I remember at the time I was like knowing like that's BS, and then on top of that I had people like Ken Silva and Richard Booth that were like telling me like also from their experience this is BS, that's BS, this is BS. So even at my layman level, I'm like this is nonsense. Multiple things. I don't know if maybe you could get somebody on if you ever want to dig into that, because there are some things that are like, that's some BS. I know Ken's interviewed Strassmeyer, so he'd probably be pretty good at that. But yeah, I struggle to trust the guy. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, who knows? I mean, you never know. There's a million different reasons why someone could come to a conclusion. It doesn't necessarily mean he's a fed or something. So
I don't know if he's a fed, but yeah. I think that the issues I have that are very interesting is first off, why is it that he's just able to like walk in and say, here's Strassmeyer, I'm going to interview him because of some female 20 some odd years ago. Now, keep in mind, his debutante stuff is his revisiting. He had been in Elohim City in the 90s. He's always floating around. He's hanging out with Alex Jones, going to Bohemian Grove. And by the way, a very interesting show, I believe it was on Sidebar with my friend David Viva Fry and Robert Barnes. Alex Jones is on there, and he's not happy with Ronson. There's been a tear in that relationship, and that episode's probably 4 years old, 3-4 years old. But if anybody wants to know, look up Alex Jones, Viva Fry interview, Sidebar. But if you listen to Debutante, I go, why is it you have every bit of FBI recordings out there? How is it you have, I just happened to be recording the trial at the time, and here's some good audio from the trial. And part of why it bothers me, I will admit, is jealousy. Like, I want that damn audio. I want that access, but it's like he could just somehow talk to every agent that has every view of her. I'm not going to say fed, but I'm going to say fed friendly. Yeah, sure.
An extreme, or the very, 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 very least, extremely rose-colored glasses. For example, the one that particularly irked me, and I'm recalling it now. There was the plan to raid Elohim City, I'm sure you're aware of, and he characterizes it in that as if it was like, we're trying to avoid another Waco. And we're like, well, you didn't.
Right. If we did it just think there wouldn't have been an Oklahoma City bombing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, well, you didn't have to do it like Waco.
and how do you know that? How do you know that for sure? Because I don't remember the bombs ever being placed in Elohim City. They were in Junction City last time I checked, at the Dreamland Hotel and over by the lake. But there is never, as far as I know, any fertilizer, bomb material, or explosive or anything at Elohim City. Not that Elohim City had the best people hanging out, but I'm just saying that doesn't make complete sense at all. And again, that does feel like a narrative, so I totally agree with you.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely. And I just find it funny that like I can't understand how anyone could come to the conclusion of like to give law enforcement that sort of benefit of the doubt in the current day of like, oh well, they wanted to avoid a Waco, so that's understandable. And you're like, well, it's not murder everyone or don't do law enforcement. I don't understand why it's this binary. You could just, I don't know, do quality law enforcement, or I don't know, like, and I'm sure there's other ways to go about it. You don't need to murder everyone. But like I said, I did want to pick your brain and find out where you've come to so far. I guess your level of certitude. How far down the rabbit hole have you gone? Have you descended into the madness yet?
Well, I'm not sure what the madness is. I'm still digging, and a lot of what I find interesting is I think nothing. I always wanted to do a show called The In-Betweens because I feel like you're always looking at the results of things, but what happens between wars, like Treaty of Versailles caused World War II. A lot of people, there's a lot of weird things that people don't realize. So I'm kind of looking at things like Gordon Call right now, and all the way back, and then I'm going, okay. Gordon Call, some legitimate complaints in there, interesting stuff. And then I'm like, well, wait a minute. Is this an extension of, oh my God, not Mocking. Sorry, I'm getting my bits confused, but COINTELPRO. I'm like, I kind of feel like PatCon is maybe the bastard child of COINTELPRO, but I can't know for sure. But I'm sort of trying to draw these weird little parallels in there. But right now I'm very interested in back in the 80s of Gordon Call into the CSA, Kerry Noble and crew, Richard Snell, all of that, and then rolling forward because everybody acknowledges Ruby Ridge, but this is a decade before Ruby Ridge, and I kind of feel like there's just some meat in here. And then listening to your interview with Kurt Lyons, and he's talking about Randy Weaver was at my wedding, and again, Kirk has reached out for me. All fairness aside, I literally just reached out to me, so it's like, oh, he knows who I am. Okay, interesting.
He's a friendly fella. I've had him on the show. Really enjoyable conversation. I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, he's probably listened to other shows. I'd be a little skeptical of him, but whatever. But I did enjoyable guy to talk to, and just incredibly interesting life story, regardless of all that. But I just my point is I kind of look a little side-eyed. What exactly you're saying? Although who knows? Maybe he's completely on the up and up. But it is that is the game we play when we're in this world. But I guess kind of in broad strokes, I'm just kind of curious, like. Are you obviously? I'm not thinking you to assert any of these, but I'm assuming you're probably. Are you up to that? It was like perhaps some sort of sting, because it's like almost like there's levels. Like it's like you go further. It's like, was this just some like, oh, oopsies, like oops, we screwed up, or was, and then kind of like then going from further. So like an oopsies, or is that where you're at? Where you buy the sting theory? I'm assuming that's kind of. Yeah. Low level. Now, where are you at with McVeigh being an asset? Now that's the fun one. That's when it gets interesting and surprising. There's some stuff to it. But, yeah.
I don't know yet. I'm reading Wendy Painting's book.
Hell yeah.
And I'm talking with her. Hopefully we'll have something. But I totally believe botched sting. It really feels right, and it matches my experience with the government, with everything. Like I'm not going to say that Eric Holder's not a bastard, or that these people aren't climbers and they wouldn't run over their own mother, or what are we going to do? But they won't blow up 30 freaking kids. There's a certain point that I can't see now covering up something that happened. Absolutely. What are you going to do? They're already gone. Their viewpoint. But botch sting fits so perfect. Had the humiliation again. We're going back into the 80s of the sedition trials, which Kirk Lyons won, by the way, and rolling into Ruby Ridge, complete debacle. Waco, complete debacle. Now. They knew that Timothy McVeigh was doing this stuff. asset, not asset. I don't know yet. I'm literally just touching on this, so I'm not going to make up my mind at this point. And he doesn't help himself because he's all over the map when what he says.
He's literally all over the map too, which I guess you haven't gotten there yet, but you'll see. After his time in the military, he's all over the map of the United States, but talking to every influential figure, it seems.
As a matter of fact, somebody mailed me a thing that was supposedly McVeigh in 1993 at another illustration after he was already out.
Oh, is that the one?
But I don't know if it's real.
Are you talking about the one where they said they saw him when he was supposed to? Because the idea is like sheep dipped or whatever. That the concept that like he's still technically like because he went to special forces as a story supposedly, and then he says in his letter to his sister, he says that like what really happened is they pulled me aside and they go, hey. We need you to do some rough and tumble type stuff. We're going to do some black ops, whatever the hell, but we need you to pretend like you're getting out of the military. Like that's what he sent to his sister. But you're saying that somebody sent you, because I think I know what you're talking about. There's that like obviously the in-between time. So if you can find the time that like after officially he got out, if you can find him like at a military base or in fatigues or something, obviously that paints a weird picture. And I think I know what you're talking about. I believe that shows up in some documentaries, maybe like A Noble Lie. I can't remember what documentary it shows up in. Although I believe that ended up getting proven wrong. I think Wendy Painting and Van der Veulen, I can never pronounce his name. He's another guy. I believe he was one of the executive producers for, but they were for The Noble Lie. But Wendy and him were researchers, and I believe that was something they looked into at one point. Maybe it was a different documentary, but I do remember that it was those two that looked into it. And there was this claim that was going around that there was a voice match as well, because there was a video of someone who looked like him. Maybe we're talking about something different. If you have seen some other thing, but there's a video that goes around that somebody claims is McVeigh, and they say it's a voice match, and there's a claim goes around, and then but that claim later gets debunked. That like the person that supposedly said, "Oh, I would have claimed that's like the expert," then they come track him down later and like, I didn't say that.
I'm not sure. I mean, it quite literally was mailed to me.
Yeah,
and I've got to say, it didn't look like him to me.
Yeah,
you know, the individual did appear on Alex Jones talking about it or InfoWars, and I never want to discount it, but you know, it's just like at a first glance, it's like, yeah, he kind of resembles McVeigh, but it just didn't seem right. And you know, there's circles and everything else with. Again, I don't know for sure, and again, I don't want to discount it completely, but I saw it. I've got to look at it further, and you know, talking to Wendy Painting, you know, other people. I don't know. Again, that's why I said I'm automatically going to say no. My first answer will always be no, and I know that sounds just like an asshole, but that's just my style.
No, you're not wrong. I mean, I will say like the instinct is correct, but like. When I said this concept of glow, I will say like it sounds like you're like, oh, this picture. If you're looking for something that's like boom, 100%, that's it, that's him, whatever. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. But like I said, if you do look at his story, as you're reading Wendy Painting's book, he does glow. It's a level of like you will be very suspicious. Like I don't know how you can't be and read his life story. Perhaps you'll be like, well, whatever, he was just a weirdo. But you know, or find some way to explain his some of the weird things he did. Who knows? I mean, I believe there were some allusions to perhaps meth and stuff. I don't know. People act weird. So there's all sorts of. Maybe he was a true believer in the white supremacy, whatever the heck. So actually, who knows?
Here it is. If you want to pull it up on the screen, you can take a look at.
Oh, that is the one I was talking about. I think I'm pretty sure that's the same one.
He resembles him, but it's not. It doesn't look like him, in my opinion. That's not completely.
No, so I don't think so. Yeah, so, I mean, I've seen other photos, but yeah, I think that is the video one that people point to, and I think somebody must have taken a still from the video, and then I believe he does talk for a moment.
It's there's more on it, and again, I don't want to immediately say, oh hell no, but I just you know, he's a skinny guy, he's kind of big, you know, or whatever. Let's see if we can get inside. I think it was inside. Okay, so he's ducking and hiding supposedly, but that doesn't feel like him. Yeah. The age doesn't feel right to me. I don't know, something.
The eyebrows are too dark to me. Like he's a blonde kid, so his eyebrows shouldn't be so dark.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he has a buzz cut, so like I get like you like a blonde hair guy might still have like kind of be darker, like a dirty blonde, but his eyebrows shouldn't have been that dark for sure.
Right now, are they gonna get back to it? Anyway? But that's like I said, I don't know, and I never want to turn away. I want people to send stuff. It could be useful. But get back to that point where he ducks in and out. But it really doesn't seem like it to me. I don't have the best eyes in the world, but it doesn't.
No, I agree with you. And like I said, that is the video that people they're apparently like I said, there's a thing that goes around that some expert claimed some high level of voice analysis. A funny thing, it kind of reminds me of the J6 pipe bomber thing right now. I don't know where you're at with that, but I do find it a little bit
followed it.
Yeah, it's kind of seemingly centered on gait analysis, which I'm like, okay, which is from my understanding a law enforcement proprietary technology, and I'm supposed to trust the reporting on this. Okay.
I mean, gait analysis, it is interesting.
Yeah.
But it's one thing.
Exactly. So it's like, and also, like I said, being a law enforcement proprietary technology, and unless you're explicitly saying somehow you're able to verify the results, it sounds to me like likely you're probably just getting past some results by a law enforcement individual and just going, yup, okay. So
yeah, by the way, comment below, folks. I'm not going to say absolute certainty. Again, I don't think it really looks like him, but correct me, please. Chat, please comment.
Okay, so it seems you're still learning, you're still digging. So you don't have you're reading Wendy's book right now. That's great. I think that's like I've
read Margaret's, and I've read, of course, Kathy Sanders. I've talked to Jesse now twice. Talked to Ken. I don't know when this comes out. I'll be talking to Ken in a live stream.
Oh, you'll have him on again? That's great. This will go out in probably like a week or two.
Okay. So I will have talked to him probably last Thursday or so.
Yeah, it'll been a while back. So you're still learning, you're still on the path. I mean, there's still always new stuff you find. I mean, so like hell, I still cover. I mean, Wendy still occasionally will drop threads that I cover on the show. I mean, are you even familiar with the multiple John Doe 2 theory? Because you seem to be pretty.
Yeah, Mark Ham.
Yeah,
right?
Mark Ham. Okay, that's a fun one
Wendy
too.
Also mentioned it too. And actually, that makes a great deal of sense because there's multiple people around, and even that the weird female situation, which could have been Langdon, cross-dressing. At the time, for all we know, I don't know. But yeah, that makes a ton of sense because if you look at early times, there's John Doe 1 and 2, but they were looking for 4 to 6 people. Well, who were the other people? And then at the hotel or motel, there was like 3-4 people in that room. There's how many latent prints on the car and on the area. Oh, in the hotel room, in his car, that they never bother testing. You're talking about at least 3-4 people again. So it makes sense. I've got some shots of like Brescia, which really looks like John Doe number 2. Yeah. And there's some arguments that, he's a redhead, and he is now. I've got that picture, but not at the time. And he absolutely did have a tattoo going down his arm and whatnot.
And I think he had just been, before he went down to Elohim, he had just been at like LaSalle University. So it is weird. He's like this young college kid and then just runs off to be, some Aryan whatever. Just seems like an odd move.
Well, you want to talk about weird. I can go weird on you for that. I haven't broken this one yet, but here's an interesting clip for another ARA member.
Real quick before, I guess while you kind of get it ready, I know you've covered JFK and RFK a lot. I guess particularly it's more JFK. We're talking multiple John Doe 2s. Well, this is kind of the same idea as like the multiple Oswalds that always we hear about a lot. The idea of like perhaps there were different ones all over the place. And then, funny enough, I mean, I don't know if you've dug into Ham's book yet. Ham's book is really great about elucidating like the ARA and how they
Not
operated.
yet. And I tried to get with him. He can't come on, unfortunately. But
Bummer.
I wanted him.
Well, that is. I do think that is a good thing to really understand, especially if you're trying to dig into specifically the ARA, because you do get the idea, like you're talking about, like the cross-dressing lady, this, that, and even the idea of the multiple John Doe 2s. Their whole thing was bank robbery. Like they literally were doing like was it Point Break type stuff? Yeah, type stuff where they would just different suits. They would do all sorts of different things to trick the law enforcement. This, that, the pipe bombs, inert pipe bombs. I don't know. We always see that. That always seems to be a thing. But just kind of these. I don't know. And it's funny too if you do start to following the history of these things. Mm-hmm. It is funny that like. They actually you get far back. A lot of this stuff is like attributed to actual legitimate like CIA stuff that then is like pulled from, I believe, like Jack Oliphant and others, like these, like the theory of how they're operating within cells and stuff. So I don't know. Point being is like these overlaps, like for kind of this almost weird borderline intelligence behavior, but you can almost justify it in like perhaps the dissident right, or whatever the hell you want to call them, just kind of managed to get a hold of tactics of the CIA and just kind of use the same ones. But I don't know, I guess is that just a little too convenient sometimes, it seems.
Well, Peter Langdon's father was CIA,
yes.
And the CIA does tend to recruit from two areas. And this is a shout out to Kirk Lyons, because I heard he discussed Holloway being an orphan. Mm-hmm. And the CIA tends to recruit from two things: legacy and orphans.
I didn't even catch that. That's a good catch. Yeah.
So legacy as in daddy was, son was, on down the line. But then orphans as well. Perfect example of legacy and orphan, the Carlson family. Richard Carlson was an orphan. Richard Carlson worked with the CIA. Richard Carlson also did USAID. Tucker Carlson tried to be in the CIA, supposedly was rejected, but was he rejected? I don't know. So there you go. Mm-hmm. There's a couple examples, and there are many more. On America's Untold Stories, if you're ever bored, we have a show called Family of CIA, and we do talk about that because there's another family who was tied in the CIA. You might have heard of them. It was Barack Obama. His mother,
mom a prostitute?
Was USAID.
Oh, honeypot.
So I wouldn't go on that. I don't know, but I do know that she was a teacher tied into Indonesia. A lot of death.
I know that's the rumor. I've never dug into it.
Yeah, that one I don't know. But there's plenty there without that. Why was she teaching? Kind of like Ruth Payne, going back to JFK and all these third world countries.
Isn't there a picture of his mother? I swear I've seen literally a nude of his mom. Not that I was looking for Barack Obama's mom's nudes, but I think it just popped up on my timeline at one point. I mean, I just sounded like you might have been vaguely familiar. I've never dug into it, but I just I saw a nude and it was supposedly, this is his mom, and it was some claim of she's a honeypot. I'm like, I mean, I don't know. Obviously, I didn't take it as fact. It was kind of like, okay. But
that's completely new to me.
Okay. All right. Well, I didn't know if maybe you were familiar because I vaguely recalled that. And so
here is one for you, though. This is Kevin McCarthy of the ARA.
Our friendly neighborhood carpenter.
Hey, Kevin.
Yeah.
Hey, how are you? I'm good. We've got a project. It's going to be fun. Awesome. So it's an old bank barn. The owner, her name is Kim. She's been using this as an office. And we are now actually creating it as an enclosed space. So the idea is to turn
it's not a bad gig, right? Going from a bank robbing of the 90s to home and garden television.
Office, but also
I think you got an AT&T commercial too.
Watch television and be separated from her children who will be in another space.
Sounds exciting.
So he rolls up those sleeves. There's a swastika.
That was the part I was looking for. It's like he's got plenty of tattoos there. Has he covered them up or not?
Can be hidden away. And then
anyway, that's boring, but
that guy probably killed about roughly 150 people. So maybe, just maybe, perhaps.
I don't think so, because the ARA it really appears that the ARA was a complete op, and they were allowed to rob the banks and whatnot. Langdon being a Secret Service informant. Think about it. Weapons are not actually shooting people, dummy pipe bombs, as you put it. So nobody's actually technically getting hurt, but they're collecting money and building a reputation. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, modeling themselves after other similar groups of antiquity.
Or like Point
yeah.
Break. I mean, hey, it's Hollywood. We all believe in that, right?
Well, I was referring to like the order and other stuff. Like they were kind of like copycatting, and it was like I don't know. It was like anyways, yeah. It's yeah. I can see that. I don't know. I am torn on that after reading Ham's book. I mean, it seemed fairly authentic, although it's hard not to be like, what the hell? I mean, you have Guthrie, who's a bizarre fellow all on his own. He met a weird fate. Obviously, we have Langan, who's, like you said, his dad was CIA. Not only was his dad CIA, his dad was CIA, like the head CIA guy in Vietnam, literally living in like the palace. He was playing with like the other little kids there.
And was he involved with the DM brothers? Because I didn't.
I can't remember. Is that I believe
they did, both got executed.
Yeah,
and it'll be interesting. Again, I don't know. I haven't gotten through his book yet,
I think so. If whoever was ruling at that time, he was a part, or it seems like, I guess it depends on what your opinion is on whatever happened there. It seems like he likely had a hand in that coup. And literally, it's just wild to think that this is a guy who his son was probably playing with the children of the people that then the next day he gets murdered. So, and this is the way Langan grew up. He grew up seeing monks burning themselves, so self-immolation. He saw that stuff. He was present for those protests. And yeah, very, very odd upbringing. Just that alone. And then the Secret Service informant. Yeah, it's. I mean, then you add in not that it really means anything, but just another dimension. The tranny thing is just like, what? I guess it's just another. I mean, I guess it's a little flair of humor, I guess, to add to it. I mean, whatever. Not judging, but I mean, if you can't see the humor in a transgender, in a Nazi, in like a Nazi group or whatever, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, it's interesting. And because I do human behavior stuff or whatever, I kind of look into some of that. Like, there could be parallels to Carol Howe on that, and I'll explain why. Have you ever heard of how women who have been harmed as a child I don't know if this is on YouTube, so I'm very careful about language. So
don't worry about it. I don't care about it.
All right. Well, who've been touched as a kid, sexually assaulted as a kid, things like that. A lot of women, they gain a lot of weight, the victims and stuff. And part of that is so they can push everybody away and be repulsive. As crazy as it sounds. Well, what could be more repulsive than being a neo-Nazi? And I mean, think about it. You're an attractive female, blonde hair or whatever. And you have a giant swastika tattoo on your arm. So that can both feel empowering, but it also is a shield to push away other people and maybe scare them. And that's an interesting angle. I don't think enough time has been spent talking about that. Well, what about Peter Langdon? If he is, I'm not saying for sure he's gay, but what if he's a gay child? Again, potentially victimized, whatever else.
To be just not to cut you off, but he was gay. He was gay. He was experimenting with his sexuality. I mean, it said it in Ham's book, and he's admitted it. According to him, because I think it was from interviews from him. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so then what? Being a Commander Pedro or whatever he was, like, oh, big scary Nazi. Again, my mind works in an odd manner, but I just kind of wonder if there might be a parallel there.
Yeah,
of he was a people.
He was a diminutive man too. Like, so he was a very, very slight guy. I don't remember exactly his height. I mean, not that I'm making fun of short kings. I'm 5'5" out there. I'm just saying he was very small guy. I think he was shorter than me, and he was a skinny fella. So he was. I mean, I guess he's probably maybe like 130 pounds, skinny guy, kind of lanky. And I think from my recollection, it was almost like he had a little bit of a chip on his shoulder about it too. It seems like he may have been bullied. He actually too, if I recall correctly, he was in some sort of juvie. Actually, not even juvie. I think he was in adult jail as a child, like as a teenager. And there was like, if I recall correctly, from Ham's book, I believe there were, I don't remember if it was confirmed or not, but some sort of allusions to rape, or might have just straight up said it. I can't remember, but it heavily looks like he probably was sexually abused in prison by adults as a teenager. So, which is like another thing to his life, like, oh my God, which I mean, all these things together.
Outlandish theory isn't completely off base.
No, absolutely not. Probably not. I can totally see this guy. And I think his father, if I recall correctly, his dad died at a young age too. So, I mean, and like, I don't know. I mean, while obviously I think his dad's kind of the devil given all the stuff, but it's his dad, and I'm sure he probably was the coolest guy ever. He was, an action figure. So apparently that weighed really hard on him. So it is actually, you do kind of find yourself feeling a little bit bad for Langan. He had, but I mean, not too bad. I mean, he did do a lot of wild stuff. But yeah, I guess maybe kind of coming to the end here. This has been a fun talk, but is there anything that you really wanted to talk about that I didn't talk about? I mean, you're digging into this. There's all sorts of things perhaps you're interested in. I don't know. I mean, there's so many different notes that go on with Oklahoma City bombing. It's almost it's bewildering, really. Even after being in it so long, because then I have to be like almost like digging into a giant repository of knowledge. You'd be like, oh yeah, this thing, that thing, and you're like, because I mean, it's been so long, so I was even really super embroiled, and there's just so much to it, just such a wide web. But anyways, what exactly is there anything you would like to talk about? You feel like you wanted any questions or whatever, anything you wanted to highlight, particularly about the Oklahoma City bombing, before we move on over to your show and record one?
I guess the main thing is I never want to lose sight on Chase and Colton. I never want to lose sight on the victims, and I think that it's very easy to get caught up in the allure of the conspiracy and everything that's going on, and I fear for myself, but I never want to forget Kenneth Trentatu. I never want to forget people who died in this bombing, and I think that it can get a little touchy sometimes. You get excited and you get down this path and all that, but real people died, and a lot of them did, and I think we've got to always be cognizant of it. And while I think that the government did some nasty, horrible things, and there's no they're not good guys here, that doesn't mean that the other side were good guys either. There are no good guys in this story. Only victims, and really a lot of bad people, for whatever means, career advancement, all the way to just hatred of others. And I think we should never lose sight of the fact that people died, and that does matter.
Yep, that's actually what dragged me into this. It feels like it's different strokes for different folks. Some people really get sucked into like the John Doe 2 stuff and stuff, like, which I get. For me, it was Yiki trying to do those personal stories that really are kind of beyond the pale. So even from a conspiracy perspective, you're like, whoa. But then even just from a human perspective, particularly Yiki, as I pointed out my past before, I was a young military man. He was 30. He was 70 years in the force. So I guess as someone around the time I learned of Yiki, I was about a decade into the military. About that time where you learn, what the hell did I do? This is a bureaucratic nonsense that I'm middle management now in the military. And I feel like there's probably a similar dynamic that Terry was feeling, this idea of like, because I kind of left the military somewhat on ideological reasons. And so I can kind of see, I kind of had a sympathy with Yiki. So that's what sucked me in. So yes, I don't know. I'm also a family man. So it's like, I totally get what you mean. While I'm not overly sentimental, something about that, the loss of life, the loss of a father, the loss of a child, all that just, I don't know. It just, it really breaks me up inside. So that is what every now and then just you see something, you see the face of Yiki, you see I know you see something reminds you, and it kind of renews the fight. But it's been a pleasure having you on, Eric. I guess we're gonna go continue this conversation elsewhere. You want to let people know where they can find you at, and love to do this again sometime.
Eric Hunley, pretty much everywhere. Hunley Eric on X. I'm out there.
Hell yeah. Well, if you guys want to support what I'm doing, leave a like, share, subscribe, comment, leave a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. You can find the show on YouTube, Rumble, all the major audio podcatchers. You can find it on Twitter at TowerGangJose. If you want to give me money and help out this show the best way you can go to patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. Also got that QR code up in the top left-hand corner. The lowest level is $2. It gives you access to early episodes. Do about 1 to 2 episodes behind the paywall a week. Usually keep about 4 behind the paywall to give you time. Get access to an ad-free RSS feed, access to the Telegram, and access to the pre-chat, or the the pre-show, post-show, and the video calls for me and Austin's weekly live call-in show, Already Dead. And I give a big shout out to the sponsors, the highest level of the Patreon. Every episode is a big thank you for everything they do. My previous co-hosts on Tower Gang, at Learner Toad, also at AbragateDs, at ZLVRCK, at _Infinite Zeal, Tim Tuttle, at Jolly and Klebold. Big fan of the show, Torme, at Wayne Tackless, 1-800-CARS for kids, No Free Lunch, Jack, Mark Vestibule, and Jacob Winograd of the Biblical Anarchy podcast. I appreciate all the people who support the show. Love you all. We will see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.